Hey everybody, this is Captain Kyle and welcome back. I'm with Mike Gregorek from Wizard World. We had just finished up talking about virtual cons, which have been a great placeholder for regular cons. Well, not great, but at least something of a placeholder for regular cons. And now we're going to be talking about the physical ones. We touched on in the last video, but we're going to talk even more. So, Mike, I know you're expressing the excitement that I am about, yes, in August, we may actually be able to be in a convention.
Yeah.
But you're right that not everyone is going to come on board with the vaccines necessarily or feel comfortable. Speaking of that, do you think there's going to be kind of requirements, not just from Wizard World, but maybe other cons as far as vaccination before you're actually allowed to step in that door?
That is a great question, Kyle. I don't know is the answer. I know that I'm a part of other large gathering entertainment venues that are going to be doing that. To be completely transparent, I help out with a camp for kids in the summer, and we are going to make that a requirement. But I don't think there will be a completely legal thing in place that will require folks to be in a space. It'll be like case by case on the convention company. If enough people are vaccinated and precautions are still taken, I think that cons can run successfully. But it's like how I think the scale is an important thing. I think small cons have been running. I think smaller cons might be able to continue to run. But something as large as Wizard World, especially with some of the cities we're in, Chicago, there's a lot of finances that come into play. There's booking the convention center and booking the vendors and booking the talent and giving them those guarantees that we spoke about in the last video. And so for us to do it successfully financially, there needs to be a certain amount of people that are there, that are physically there.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so while we want to make sure that we're following all the safety guidelines, we also have a number that we have to hit financially for it to make it profitable or even worth doing. So there is that weird thing. It's going to happen everywhere. It's going to happen in sports. It's going to happen in theater. You know what I mean? Where it's like, is it worth opening this theater if we can only seat 25%?
As far as the smaller cons, a lot of them have been kind of getting around the rules by doing it as a retail event. And some of them have had them in parking lots, though right now we're both on the East Coast. Today would not be an ideal day for doing anything in a parking lot.
No.
Or even a parking garage. But now I do want to talk a little bit about the fact that back to the virtual panels.
Sure.
There have been a number of places who have done things where there was some kind of subscription required in order to view their panels or some kind of payment to get a ticket to actually watch this panel. It may not be a huge amount, but it was some kind of monetary thing. And what do you think the consequence of that would be? Do you think that would be something that people would be okay with?
I think it needs to be handled delicately. To your point, I think a lot of cons, again, without naming names, if you're watching this video and you're a fan of Fandom Spotlight, you're a con fan and you know them all, so we don't need to go through the list. But I think they erred on the side of like, oh, we can just recreate basically exactly what we were going to do, throw it online and charge people not the same amount, but an amount, right? Mm-hmm. And it backfired in I want to almost say all of the cases. I don't know. In terms of like at least the panels, they were charging that typical admission or ticketing fee, but we're not realizing that people are paying for that ticketing and admission fee for the experience of being there live. They want to see the cosplayers walk by. They want to be able to go up to the artist's art and look at it right up close. And again, see the celeb like 5 feet away. And that's what that ticket price is costing. So to charge for that virtually just like didn't work, I don't think. And that's why we went and started and said, you know what, let's just throw these out there for free in terms of the panels. Because again, it was kind of free marketing for us. And we got some pushback. We definitely got pushback from brokers and managers being like, you know, you're getting all these views and you're getting all this additional monetary value from just people being on your site, watching my client, then going to your site and not necessarily buying my client's material, but buying whatever you have on your site. And they have a good point. And I think there is potentially something there where if this were to continue, as something that is a necessity that people are looking for. They want that. They don't want to go to physical cons. They want that virtual experience. That just financially speaking, as a company, you always need to consider is like, what is some way that we can monetize this so that we are able to cover our bills, you know what I mean, and pay. Again, we got lucky that we did so many of these, but now that actors are going back to work, they're being a little more demanding, right? Now that people are going back to work, their schedules are a little bit trickier and more time consuming. You see it in the big TV and TV stations. Everybody's got their blank plus streaming service, you know what I mean? Because everyone's trying to capture that audience, and we're doing the same thing. So while we're not at the same level as, Disney and Paramount and blah, blah, it's like, we're still providing content, you know what I mean? That is valuable in some sense. And so is there a way to do that? I personally believe that, again, there needs to be virtually some free element. Again, we're not producing big blockbuster movies or blockbuster series. It's just just like you and I look right now, Kyle. This is what you're going to get. Yep. Production wise, you can throw as many overlays and fancy graphics around it as you want, but at the end of the day, it's two people sitting in their homes talking. Whether it's Jason Momoa talking or you and I talking, that's going to increase or decrease the monetary value of it. But at the end of the day, it's still just, this is as produced as we can get. And so I do think that we have to be creative and clever on how those paid experiences start to take place and start to happen. And it's definitely on the table for us in terms of turning what has been a fun, successful year into something that can continue and sustain. And the only way it can continue and sustain is by figuring out some creative way of monetizing it somehow. And so that's my answer to that.
Right. And it's certainly understandable. I mean, when you go to a physical con and pay for a ticket, it's the community that you're really getting into. As you say, I know a lot of cosplayers, being one myself, they're on the verge of depression because they haven't been able to go to a con. KatsuCon's a big one every year, and that's obviously not happening. And people are like, "Oh, this is the time of year." It's not, occurring. And even some of the smaller cons that are indoor based, it's not the same online. But I can definitely understand where you might need to, or a company might want to charge something. But I think, as you mentioned, it needs to be done in a way that provides a good value to them, that people don't feel like they're being, ripped off, or it's like, this isn't anything like going to a con.
Totally. And it would never be the same amount monetarily. It could also be very creative. As a professional, as a successful YouTuber, that there are ways to get around charging the fan. You can charge the service or the platform or sponsors or things like that. So that's definitely on the table. And I want to be clear in saying that while more things might become monetized, that doesn't mean that we would ever abandon a lot of the free content that is super valuable to fans, like podcasts and cosplay competitions and artist demos and all those fun things that a ton of people tune in for each week that feature a lot of the community stuff you were talking about. I know I passionately, as the director of programming for Wizard World, will continue to put out there as content for people that want to engage in it. And so it's not everything. It's just like, it's a shift. It's a shift in a different direction, but with still a lot of the features that we've been, having online already.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I don't necessarily want to mention, but you have one particular con that's doing something very similar, but they seem to have a different model and and this is not meant in an offensive way. They seem to be getting a little bit higher.
Say their name. Yes. Say their name, Kyle. Say their name.
All right. GalaxyCon.
It's GalaxyCon. It's okay. Can I say this right up front before you set it up? I know two of the individuals that work at GalaxyCon. If they're watching this, Ryan and Casey are two of my best friends, and worked with us at Wizard World. So again, I am a big fan of transparency and honesty, and it's like McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's. They all make burgers. They just all do it different ways. And it's not that you can crap on one or the other. We're all just trying to provide a service. And so anyway, that's just my setup for you as host, that I have no problem in just being very honest and transparent with competition.
Yeah. I mean, you're competitors, but you're not enemies.
Totally.
You're
There we
both,
go. There we go.
Servicing the same market.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of friendly, hopefully, rivalry between your two companies. But as I've said, I've noticed that they're not charging, but they also are bringing on guests that are not exactly what I would consider cheap guests. Now, knowing that I've seen places like Awesome Con bringing in like David Tennant and Matt Smith and Stephen Amell and paying them a lot of money. A lot of the actors that they seem to have seem to be ones that would not do it for free. What do you think the secret of that particular success is?
Obviously, I can't speak on actually their like behind the scenes process and like what they do, you know what I mean, or what negotiations are going through. All I can speak to is like what negotiations we've gone through with similar folks, you know what I mean, that are on these, not just Galaxy, but like you mentioned, Awesome Con, that were in Walker Stalker, did an online one, a bunch of done it. Kind of at the end of the day, they are just basically agreeing to the terms of the broker and manager that we may have passed on, is really what it comes down to. You know what I mean? And so I can't talk specifics, obviously, like numbers and even I'm not privy to all of the information. But they are making a choice as a company, which is within their rights to take the risk that I was speaking about before in terms of potentially what this talent is requesting. Again, not specifically, but could come down to guarantees. You need to guarantee me that I'm going to make this amount of money, and then prove that you can. And then it's up to you to do better sales than that, right? You need to guarantee me that once I'm done with this panel and this signing, you will request nothing else of me, that type of thing. You need to guarantee me that you will not post this panel for free. Once you've shown it live to the audience that have registered for it, you actually won't post the full thing, because I feel like that getting views should make me money still. Like, you would watch a TV show in a rerun or something like that and get residuals.
Syndication.
Yep, syndication, residuals, all that kind of stuff. And so again, I don't know exactly what they're saying or exactly what the contracts or negotiations are, but essentially to speak to your like, why are they getting bigger names? It's because they're agreeing to the terms of those bigger names that we have decided that isn't what our model is, or our style is, or our financial model is, things like that.
And just to explain to the people who are watching, with the guarantee, let's just say this particular artist says, if I'm going to do this, you need to make sure I make $10,000.
Yep, that's a good number.
And then you sell enough autographs and one-on-one chats to cover $6,000, then the company who booked this particular individual is on the hook for the additional $4,000. And a lot of times people are like, why didn't they get this person?
That's a classic example.
On this con or at this con? It's because either they wanted too much of a guarantee and they couldn't sustain that, or it's just too many people. You could get, if you have 10 celebs that you're bringing in and 5 more wanna, even if their guarantees are low, it might be like, well, we don't think that we can necessarily say that. There's only so much money coming in to the convention center.
And there's a lot of people too, I mean, Kyle, that also are of this echelon that either they don't like to do it. It's just a personal decision. Some talent just, it's not like they hate their fans. That's never, and sometimes fans overreact, and it's like, it's not that they hate us, it's that they just don't feel comfortable in that one-on-one setting, whether it's physical or virtual. So that plays into it. And then 2, some folks are just so high up there that they almost, again, they're not doing it to be mean. They're not saying like, well, I only make $100,000 for an appearance. Some do, don't get me wrong. But most are saying it's not worth it for me to like bankrupt your company to go to this event. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're actually are, I think, being conscious of their value. And like, again, Tom Cruise is not going to come to a Comic-Con, not because he's like a douche. It's because he's like, there's no reason for you to have to pay me that to just be there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need it. You don't need to take on the burden. You know what I mean? It doesn't fit, type of thing. So there is that too.
Yeah, there's a few people who do go to cons who are very kind of standoffish. They're not comfortable, so they don't do a lot of them. I know Weird Al, great guy, but I went to a con and you would actually purchase your autograph, and then you'd go into another room so there's not too many people around him at once to actually interact with him. And, and that's fine. And then there's like Andrew Lincoln, who only really did the Walker Stalkers down in Atlanta and would give every bit of money to charity.
Everybody interacts with it totally differently. And so, yeah, people often see everyone on the same playing field, and it's just not, at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Though I have to say, some people complaining that when you have a virtual panel that's got 6 people and they're like, well, where are these other 6? Do you really want 12 people on a virtual panel? I mean, I ran it. There were 7.
You had a big one.
A good-sized panel, and having that many people, I couldn't pay as much attention to individuals as I may have liked. And, you couldn't ask as many questions because you say, this question's for everybody, and you have to wait for 7 answers.
Well, and I will say, Kyle, to give you a little preview of Wizard World kind of moving forward, is whereas in the past, and by the past, I mean the last year, we were excited. It was cool to see 12 people on screen and be like, oh, it's a cast reunion. We are conscious of exactly what you said of like moving forward. Maybe it is nicer to have more intimate panels, but create a themed series so that a Stargate fan could say, hey, I want to check out the Stargate series of panels, and really just do 2 at a time and do like the Doctors versus, or, villains versus heroes or things like that. So we are starting to think programming wise of how we can break the events down, but not lose the audience. Because you get the audience. When you put 12 people on screen, you get thousands of people. Because like, oh my gosh, this is the reunion event. So it's like, how do you sustain that audience, but get the panels into smaller groups? You know what I mean? Like without it being a 12-hour marathon. So we're thinking about that.
3 or 4 might be a good amount. 6 is like upper level, but I think part of the great thing about panels is seeing the interaction between those cast members, and that's what people like.
Yep.
That's why solo panels are usually not as attended unless it's Sebastian Stan, and then it's like, it's Sebastian Stan.
Exactly.
But a lot of solo panels don't do as good as group panels because they want to see that banter. But yeah, you do need to keep it at a level where it makes sense. Tell me what's coming up with Wizard World that people can look forward to.
Yeah.
Shout out and promo.
Sure. We just redesigned our website. It's nice and squeaky clean. It was definitely a makeshift kind of placeholder as we pivoted, and people recognized that, but we were like, it doesn't matter. Just get to the free panel and you're going to have fun. But we put a lot of effort over the last 3 months in redesigning the website. It's very pretty. So head to wizardworld.com. That's where you go for everything now, both virtual and physical cons. And the sad thing about physical cons is you're going to see that Chicago date and just be like, nothing until then. But just know that physical cons are on the horizon, and everything can be found at wizardworld.com. We also have the Vault, wizardworldvault.com. I think that has been super integral to our success, because not only are we doing these kind of live events, but we've also recognized vendors, memorabilia, people wanting to buy nostalgic items from past physical conventions and past virtual cons. We've also been able to support, again, a lot of our vendors that are out of cons, right, out of work and not having their con appearances. And so you can support them. You can support us at wizardworldvault.com. It's all connected via the website. Panel-wise, the cast of Clerks on February 20th. And then we are wrapping up this month with my man, Captain Kyle himself, hosting a Walking Dead panel on the same day, Sunday, the 28th, as the premiere of the new episode of the, we've joked back and forth, whatever season we're in. It's like,
well, it's 10
point something.
10C.
10C. So. We'll call it season 10C of The Walking Dead. And then stay tuned for some more information. Again, we are looking to create some series of events moving forward just to kind of create that con experience. We're going to start offering workshops with comic book creators and cosplayers to get them involved, and prop makers
and YouTubers.
And YouTubers to get them involved in a series, and all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah, all that is happening. But that's a little taste of February and the new website. Just follow us on Wizard World, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mike. And people can find you on Twitter at Mike G Does Things, right?
Oh, a personal shout out. Thanks, Kyle. I thought I was just here for the company. You're right. If you are a fan of me, I moderate a bunch of these panels, but I'm also always looking for cosplayers, YouTubers, podcasters, people to come in and join our family and our community. You can follow me at Mike G Does Things on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I love DMs. I answer DMs. So definitely DM me if you've got any ideas or thoughts or whatever you want.
Awesome. Well, thanks for speaking to us. I know we probably didn't expect to talk over the length of 2 videos, but that's fine. For those of you watching and still watching, appreciate you sticking with us. Check out wizardworld.com. And of course, we have some other video stuff. Ooh, he's got the badges.
Got the badges.
And we got some other video stuff, including some Wizard World stuff over here. And down there, you can subscribe to Fandom Spotlight. He's pointing all over the place, but that's fine. There's social stuff. You can follow us on social things. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. And as always, have fun and follow your fandom.